Great. Well, welcome to our evening tonight. We're calling this the State of Our Teens. And my name is Greg Allen, and I'm a therapist in the community, and I'm a director of a youth organization called Freedom for You. And also speaking tonight will be Joan Jenkins here, who's the city prosecutor for Manhattan Beach, and Officer John Lloyd, who's the school resource officer at Miracosta High School. For how many years, John? Seven. Seems long. Just to me. Okay, so we're all going to kind of share a little bit of our viewpoint about what we see and what's going on, and then we're going to take question and answer from the audience so we can interact and hear what's on your mind and the concerns that you have. And I just want to say that, I'm going to move this over here because I really don't need it, that tonight is not about our GPAs. It's not about the SATs, right? And I know you've all been to many parent evenings sponsored by lots of different, organizations in the school district, and there's many, many wonderful things going on in the community. And this is an excellent, as you know, school district, which is why you're here with your kids. And achievement, sports, activities, service, it's really one of the top areas in the California to live in. But we're not here to talk about that. So what we're going to talk about tonight is some of the stuff that we see that's kind of maybe you don't see, but I know you sense, and some of it you probably have an idea of what's going on. And so you might say the underbelly or the bottom side of the iceberg. You see the surface of what's going on, but maybe you don't see the other side of it. And some of the risky things, the difficult things that are happening with our kids. And I know we're not just going to define the problem and talk about problems that are going on, although we will. We're also going to talk about some solutions and some things you could do as a mom and as a dad and as parents in the community to help the community and to help our teens and our middle school kids. And how many of you have middle school kids? And how many of you have elementary school kids? Okay, and teens, do you have teens? And how about college kids? A few? And if you have grandparents? No. When I ask teenagers, how many of you, when you were born, your mother was there? And most of the girls will raise their hand right away, but when you ask that to a group of boys, there's about a 10-second pause. They're not sure if their mom was really there. They're trying to make sense. Was she there? I don't know. I can't remember. Of course she was there. Okay, so one of the interesting things is that high socioeconomic areas, like this area here, has a lot of achievement, a lot of excellent grades, extracurricular involvement. The kids are thriving externally and doing really well, but there's a downside to that. How many of you read the Price of Privilege book? Anybody ever read that book? Okay, now you got to write that down. I'm recommending it for you. It's not exactly our community, but it's pretty accurate. About 30 years of research of high socioeconomic areas across the country where the kids are trying to go to the best colleges and take the most APs and raising the super kids and doing all this stuff. There's a downside. Those communities have more problems actually. I worked in drug addiction. I ran UCLA's outpatient programs. I ran the Macmillan Center for 7 years. I set up the teen program there. So I've seen a lot of kids doing problems and stuff going on. And the kids from more well-to-do areas actually get in more trouble. They actually get into more drugs because they have availability, they have money, they have transportation, and they're more clever. They're more clever to fool their parents and say, I'm here when they're really here, I'm doing this when they're really doing that. But what's kind of been found through some of this research is that the kids in this community here have higher levels of anxiety, higher levels of depression, higher levels of substance abuse, higher levels of suicidality, higher levels of risky behavior than kids in more middle class or even lower class. And there's two factors that contribute to that. And one of them we probably are pretty aware of, which is the pressure that kids feel to achieve, to excel, to do everything. Some kids are doing, there was a survey, about 55% of kids are doing 5 to 9 extra things besides school. besides going to school and doing homework, they're doing 5 to 9 things. So when I heard that, I thought, that's a lot of instruments they're playing. So, but that's, rehearsals, practices, lessons, service, meetings. And to me, that's like way overscheduled. That's way overscheduled. And anybody trying to do that much is going to be out of balance. They're not going to have healthy ways to de-stress themselves. They're not going to have healthy ways to, process what's happening with them. They're going to be go, 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 like many adults are. And so that's why a lot of kids are really overwhelmed with what's going on. So one of the things that contributes to this elevated anxiety, depression, substance abuse, risky behavior, suicidality is all this achievement pressure. But the other thing, as I read this book, I wasn't aware of. I'm still reading the book. I've heard about the book. Is the kids, as there's a graph, and as income goes up in families, that they actually earn more money, and have more stuff, that there's another correlation with emotional distance from the parents. That the kids feel emotionally isolated from their mom and their dad. Now you might think, well, how can that be? I'm with my kid all the time. I'm taking them here, I'm driving them there, we're going to lessons here, we're doing all this stuff, we're all together doing stuff. We're running around rapidly. How can they feel emotionally separate from us? Well, although we're with our kids and involved in their life and supervising them and maybe doing this and go here and do that, we're not really connecting with them. We're not connecting with them just as on a human level, on an emotional level, like you would with a friend. Like, how is it going? How are you doing? It's all go, 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 go. And so kids report that they're feeling like empty inside. They're feeling alienated. They're feeling lonely. They're feeling like life, I know it sounds dramatic, but some of these kids are feeling like life doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter what I do to myself. It doesn't matter if I get drunk. It doesn't matter the crazy thing I do because I'm just like overwhelmed and stressed out, but also disconnected. So the other side of that is something that you can do as a mom and dad to try to reconnect your kids with you. And maybe, likely I have 4 kids. My youngest is 30, which is why I'm so happy. When our kids were little and they're 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, we were really connected to them probably, right? How you doing? How you feel? How's it going? Right? And then they get junior high, they get kind of smelly. Then they get in high school and they're like, who is this person living in my house? But we get kind of disconnected and we kind of stop connecting on a personal level with them and caring about maybe how they're feeling. And if you think about how easy it is for you to talk to some of your kids' friends, like they can come over and you can go, hey, how's it going, Mark? How's it going, Mary? How's the soccer? And they talk to you in the kitchen or hanging out. Like, oh, this is so-and-so. Yeah, I'm doing this and that. And you guys kind of freely talk, right? And then they actually tell your kid, your mom's pretty cool. And they go, my mom? Really? Why is it we can talk to someone else's kids easier than ours? And they'll talk to us. There's not all this emotional stuff between us where we're upset they didn't pick up their socks and stuff like that. So somehow we have to remove some of the emotionality and the frustration and all the list of things they ought to be doing that we think we're supervising and just kind of relate to them as people. But that means we have to slow down, right? That means we have to slow down a lot. Because the kids are just marrying the adults. The adults are going for this and we're trying to get this and we're trying to, reach out and part of this dynamic that happens is we get too externally motivated. We're not internally. We're motivated by external things like getting things, like how I look to other people, like what kind of presence I have in the community, like how much stuff I have. That's what motivates me. I gotta appear like this and I gotta look like this, and obviously with social media and kids, they want everybody to see everything they're doing, the good, the bad, the ugly. And so the kids are learning, they're not developing internally. They're not being allowed to make decisions for themselves, to trip and fall because they're too protected. They can't fail, they can't make mistakes. And your home is a wonderful incubator of love that your kids have an opportunity to learn how to function in life. When they leave your home, they'll go to college, and we know colleges are pretty crazy in terms of party scene, But after college, they're going to be on their own a bit, right? They'll be 23, maybe they'll come back home after college and live with you. 23, 24, 25, and you're really raising a 24-year-old. You're raising someone so when they're 24, they can go out and they can function on their own. They can manage it on their own. They can make good decisions. They can not get manipulated by the world. And we know what the world's like, right? It's nice, but it's also not very nice, is it? I mean, I could be positive and say it's 50-50 good and bad stuff going on out there. But you want your kid to one day be able to manage himself in life, make good decisions, and be able to function and kind of thrive, not just survive, but thrive in life. So to do that, they're going to have to be able to have the ability to make decisions now and let them begin to think for themselves and think about what they're doing and to develop some depth inside of them, that they're kind of running their life a little more. Doesn't mean you stop supervising them. Doesn't mean you stop parenting them. Doesn't mean you stop knowing where they're going or what they're doing. But letting them reflect a little bit about what do they care about, what's happening, what's going on with this thing or this kid or whatever it is, and have them begin to see you as a support person to them, and not necessarily someone who's like running their life. My son used to call me the master puppeteer. But someone who's like coming alongside them, and you're kind of helping them get launched into life. You're kind of coming alongside them and knowing what their vulnerabilities are, their struggles they're facing, and trying to build them up and help them manage these things that are going on in their life. You should know your kids' 3 or 4 main vulnerabilities. When they leave your home every day, the 3 or 4 things that are a challenge to them, like this kid or this girl or this guy or that teacher or that class or that coach, or how I feel about myself. Whatever it is, it's different for every kid. And those of you who have more than one kid, it's different. All the kids are different. What's their vulnerability? That's part of your role, is to figure out what that is, and then trying to help them learn some strength, empowerment, coping skills in that area of vulnerability they have. Because if they're going to get tripped up in life, it'll be in those areas. If they're really good at science, they're really good at tennis, they're really good at whatever it is, public speaking, it won't be those areas. But what are their vulnerabilities they have? And everybody's different. And then if they can dialogue with you actually about that would be good. Most kids, they ask kids across the country, who could you talk to if you needed to talk to someone? And they give a list of people, and the parents are on that list, believe it or not. I could talk to my parents, I could talk to a coach, I could talk to a counselor, I could talk to whatever, a youth worker. They ask them, who do you talk to? They go, I talk to my friends. Most kids can't talk to their parents because we can't handle what they say. We have anxiety reactions on top of it. We're like, what? I'm not talking about myself, I'm talking about someone else. But we're like, what? No one wants to talk to someone that's freaking out on them. So you have to control your reactions and try to just be a supportive person like you're talking to someone else's kid. So your kid can actually talk to you because they actually need you. And you are more important than probably you realize. Even though you think teens don't want to care about their parents, you're still the most important person in their life. You have the most power in their life. Your words matter than anybody's words. Believe it or not. And it's okay to tell your kids you love them, just don't tell them in front of their friends. So kids are feeling this academic achievement pressure and this emotional isolation from parents. So we need to allow them to develop some emotional resiliency that they can handle things. Like the average job after college, okay, we're raising a 24-year-old. After college, the average job is 1.5 years, length of time. Okay? And then they go to their second job interview. They're about 24 years old now. They go to their second job interview. When they go to that second employer and they're interviewing them, that employer really does not care about their SAT scores. They don't care about how many APs they took. And they're going to call the first employer and they're going to look for some things. You know what they're looking for? They're looking for kids that can work together with other people. That can work in a team. That their mind is not all about themselves. That can accept correction. A lot of our kids can't accept failure because they never fail because we protect them so much. Because they're so achieving, everything's perfect, everything's great. They go to their first job and when you work, you get a evaluation, right? and you get an annual review, and you get your, you're doing these things okay, and these things you got to work on. A lot of kids can't handle that. They can't handle receiving correction. They're melting down, they're freaking out. Their parents are calling their first boss. What does the first boss do? He hangs up the phone. How can you talk to my kid that way? Okay? A lot of the top businesses now are not looking at schools from the top schools, kids from the top schools, from Harvard, where the top schools are. Because these kids have been like so coddled and so shaped to be like this perfect kind of kid that they can't handle like real life. And they're looking for kids at second tier schools or other schools to pull them into their businesses. So you want to use this time while they're in your home. Well, your home is not reality, right? We love our kids too much. It's not reality. You know what the world's like, right? I mean, Manhattan Beach is pretty nice. Let's all say hi to our mayor over here, Mayor Burton. Thank you for coming, Mayor. So it's not a campaign rally, don't worry. You're missing the debate tonight, right? Oh, what a mental relief to miss it. So, I forgot what I was talking about. So they're looking for kids that can work, what? The jobs, yeah. They're looking for kids that can work together with other people, that have some emotional resiliency, that when they hit a roadblock, or a difficulty, or a failure, or they screw up, or they're getting correction, they can go, okay, I'm going to work on that. They don't freak out. So use your home environment to be happy every time they mess up. Change your frame of reference. Be happy every time they screw up, they make a mistake, they get caught doing this, they didn't do that. Hopefully it's not a real big thing. They don't have to see John or Joe. Double J. But hopefully something they can learn. Like what, if your kid does something, and rather than, I can't believe you did it, what's the matter with you? How many times have I told you? Not doing that. Saying, oh, let's talk. What happened? Well, then what happened? Well, then what'd you do? Wow. What are you going to do about it? What do you think? Why do you think he did it? Wow. I wonder what your options now are. Okay? Like that. Asking open-ended. Let the responsibility and the weight of their life be on them. Not that they're on the witness stand necessarily, but let them reflect on what they did, why they did. Most kids don't know why they're doing what they're doing. They're still in formation. They're like a building getting built. There's teenagers. Now we know the brain doesn't stop developing until 25. So, them learning to go inside and try to listen to their heart, to their mind, to reflect, to think, they need to develop that skill. Be more internally focused. That's what they're going to get their strength from, their confidence from, beginning to listen to themselves and make, decisions and try stuff out. Okay? You got that? Good. Okay? And Freedom for You is an organization, a nonprofit organization in South Bay that we started to help kids find their passion and their purpose. If your son or daughter can find the thing that they're really into, like Dylan back there's got his video. He's filming a video tonight. He likes doing film. He's kind of found his passion. We have a reporter here from the school paper, and we got some photographers here from the school, from La Vista. If your son or daughter kind of find the thing they like, that might be their thing. If they can't find it, that's fine, because many people change directions in life. They're less likely to get in trouble. The kids who are not going to the giant parties and getting hammered on Friday night or Saturday night, or getting high all the time, or trying Xanax, or whatever they're doing, because they have something to do on Saturday they want to get up to and go do, that they're into, or there's something that in their life they've kind of found that they're interested in. So it's another role for us, is to help them find their passion in life, because that will propel them forward. They want to have a clear head and a clear focus to do this thing that they've kind of getting a sense of, that's more fun than just hanging out. Most of the kids that get in trouble with alcohol and drugs are doing it because they can. Because they can. Because there's cracks in the supervision. The parents don't know where they are or what they're doing. Most of the kids that are doing all kinds of stuff that's really out there, and then they stop doing it, the reason they stopped doing it is the family got tighter. The parents got more involved in their life and got closer to it. Yes, there's consequences and structure and accountability that's put in their life, but the family gets closer together. And it kind of heals a lot of the kids' acting out behavior, self-harm behavior, risky choices they're making, A lot of the stuff kids are doing that's really, risky, self-sabotage behavior. It's really to draw attention to themselves, because they're kind of saying, I'm kind of out of control, and I kind of don't care what happens tonight. I'm going to drink so much, take some pills, or I'm going to get high and go over here and do this or that, because I kind of don't care. Yeah, I'm doing good at school and I'm great in the sports team, but I'm going to kind of throw my life to the wind here for a few hours and just to blow off steam or forget what I'm feeling, escape from what I'm going through. Okay, our kids need find healthy ways to de-stress, have fun, connect with other people. And there's a million things they can do, but it's very hard for someone to extricate themselves from the party scene once they're into it, when that's their way of having fun. We know now that the brain is it's called plasticity it has. The brain adjusts to whatever environment it's in. Does anybody ever hear of epigenetics? 3. 3 therapists and 1 school board member. Okay, good. So it's a new field of research. You're realizing that the cells, we're all made up of cells, in our thumb, in our organs, in our brain, we have cells. The cells get programmed by our environment. So if I grow up in an environment with a lot of family with like yelling and aggression, and my cells adapt to that and get used to that and expect that. And kind of, they get programmed by that, and then that comes out of me too. If I smoke marijuana, I get my cells adjust to it, it gets the tolerance to it, it gets used to it. And then I want it, because I've kind of programmed the structure inside myself to go after that thing. You rewire the brain. So the brain adjusts to environment, to emotional environment, but as well as substances. And the fact that kids' brains aren't developing until 25, you probably heard some of these statistics, but a 13-year-old that starts drinking regularly, which sounds absurd, has a 43% chance of being an alcoholic. Whereas a 21-year-old who starts drinking regularly has only a 10% chance. So the more you can delay your kids getting into alcohol and drugs, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, the less likely they're going to be dependent and their brain won't get addicted. Okay, and how many of you have an alcoholic or a drug addict in your family tree? Right? Well, we probably have some we don't even know about, right? Some of those uncles or grandparents. So that means you have a higher percentage chance of becoming an addict. But what it means to be an addict or an alcoholic is you cannot control it. It's not a moral decision. It's not willpower. What's the matter with you? Why don't you stop? They can't stop. The addiction controls the person. And I was on a panel last night. We had 3 young kids share. It might be good to have some here. And they're going to do that. Once you start using drugs, and you never know. Like 20% of the kids, something bad's going to happen. I'm almost done.
You take your time.
Many of us go through partying in high school, right? I did. That's why I'm up here now. And in college, right? There's no alcohol drinking or partying in college, right? Part of what I see too is the college atmosphere, the college lifestyle, where there's no parents, there's no rules at college, there's no curfew, you can do whatever you want. That kind of social life has kind of moved into the high school world. And a lot of kids and families are living that way. But most of the people will get into partying and drinking and go to college and migrate out of it and go on and have productive lives. They will, probably 80%. But 20%, something's going to happen, and that's the risk. They'll either get addicted, or they'll get arrested, or they'll get beat up, or they'll get a car accident, or someone will get raped, or something, or someone's going to die. One of these statistics here in the Manhattan Beach California Healthy Kids Survey. Everybody ever heard of that? It's a survey given to public school kids. It's on the website every other year. Let me highlight some of the lowlights on here. So currently, the kid's responding anonymously, a heavy alcohol user, binge drinker. It goes up, 7th grade, 9th grade, 11th grade. It doesn't have 12th, it's every odd year, but it says 30% of the kids in 11th grade say they're a heavy binge drinker, 30%. Which probably means that the seniors are probably, 35%, maybe 40% are heavy alcohol binge drinkers. Okay, here's another statistic of chronic sadness or hopeless feelings. And we have about 32% of 11th graders, so probably as the numbers go up, it's probably around 40% of 12th graders feel chronic sadness or hopelessness. Suicidality. Suicide, the thoughts of suicide, unfortunately, are really active across our country now in the young people, where it wasn't maybe 15 years ago. It's an option for kids in their head now. I'm just going to kill myself. I know of 6 kids that have died this last year, like 17 and 19-year-olds, the 20-year-olds, great kids, going to USC, this and that. And they're like, why did these kids die? They committed suicide or they overdosed. They weren't like drug addicts, they're in college, but they started doing drugs and they mixed it with, whatever, this pill and that thing and that thing. They died. They're overwhelmed, they're freaked out, they feel they're going to fail, they're going to make something that's going on in their life, and they go, I'm just ending it. So we have here for Manhattan Beach kids that 23% of 9th graders have seriously considered suicide in the last 12 months. 23% of 9th graders. And that's a lot of kids, right? 23%. So, and then for chronic sadness or hopelessness, females are like 11th graders, there's 42%, whereas males are 21%. So the work that I do, the work that we do, it's not just to have kids not have fun. We're trying to save lives. We're trying to save, at the bottom line, we're trying to prevent kids from dying. And we're trying to, you go down the spectrum, we're trying to prevent kids from getting addicted, arrested, wrecking their life. We're trying to prevent kids from, getting overwhelmed with depression, with anxiety, getting hooked on drugs, getting in trouble. And we're trying to, focus on a healthy direction. And the more we can do together as a community, the community needs to connect more. We need to connect more with our kids. The community needs to connect more. And we're going to make an announcement later. Ellen Rosenberg's here, and there's a MiraCosta Families Connected website and a community thing that's going on of parents connecting in together to try to help each other, to try to help the community be safer and healthier. And we'll talk about it a little bit later, but it's one of our solutions. And with that, thank you for listening, and I'll please welcome.
Hi everyone, I'm Dawn Stein Jenkins. I'm City Prosecutor, City of Manhattan Beach. And I just want to talk to you a little bit about who I am so that I can explain why I'm doing what I'm doing. I've been City Prosecutor for City of Manhattan Beach over 15 years and prosecutor elsewhere forever. That's basically the only thing I've ever done. And I have the rare opportunity in this city. The city, the police have allowed me to have a juvenile diversion program in order to keep youth out of the criminal court system. I've been a big believer in restorative justice and a mediated approach to prosecution since my law school days. And now I get to work with my wonderful colleague, John Lloyd, my dear partner. And we see lots and lots of kids. My kids grew up here. My daughter went to the middle school, which was MBMS, and there were 400 kids in her graduating class. My son graduated from MBI. There were over 600 kids in his graduating class. Manhattan Beach has changed dramatically. The schools have changed dramatically. I've seen the glory of these changes and the not so hot parts of these changes. I see them every day. And this is a community where so much is expected and so much is given to the children, and there's such potential that when properly administrated with juveniles who are in trouble, a restorative justice bent is often much more effective than the traditional punitive justice that is the way of the criminal court system. So when someone comes to John and to me they'll be coming to me after they've been cited for a crime or sometimes bullying without a specific crime or misdemeanors or felonies sometimes. Almost all juveniles and sometimes the 18 to 21-year-olds who certainly are acting like juveniles. And by having those people come to me, by having us deal with those issues, which I will go into in 1 minute, we save our children from the plight, from the fate of having a record. Because once you're in the system, even if there's a diversion, once you're in the criminal system, it's still recorded as on your rap sheet. Who wants a kid with a rap sheet? And so what we try to do is try to deal with problems, criminal problems, in a restorative justice approach. Restorative justice meaning merely that the victim, the offender, and the immediate community needs are more important than the need to be punitive, more effective than the need to be punitive. Sometimes you need to be punitive as a component of restorative justice, but being punitive doesn't solve the problem. Trying to understand what it is and working towards solving the problem in a very measured, specific way is what we try to do. Here's my reason for this. You don't want to punish kids for being kids and finding themselves, but there are lines they cannot cross. So in the cases for kids who are often really good at their core, but not so hot in their behavior, people say they've gone astray. I use my prosecutorial powers to lead them to a better path because it's a carrot and a stick, approach. I wasn't sure my cliche there. That their conditions and their mediate are the carrot, and my saying you do this or you do that, go to criminal court, that's the stick. With those that cross the line, that's when we have our interventions. I make clear that criminal charges are always a possibility. I let people know what could happen in court, fines, increased insurance, taking your license away, not being able to get federal student loans. There's a series of issues. And I also let people know that I would always rather employ restorative programs. When we work, and we almost always work, when kids are done with us, we see a transformation. That is really humbling. Isn't it humbling, John?
Yes.
Isn't it amazing?
Yes.
I mean, it sounds so hokey, but it's not. It's amazing. So often, there are reasons, there are reasons for their behavior. And the reasons for their behavior are never what they seem to be. They could come in for skateboarding, and you think, why would somebody come in for skateboarding? Because often, there's an issue. And if you get to that issue, then the kid who was the punk kid who sort of slunked in, when I see him at the end of our few sessions, he shakes my hand, he walks tall, he says hello to his mother. I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing the difference. And this is from being able to do a series of things. We have ground rules. And John and I, since 2012 maybe, have been working together. We together created the Juvenile Diversion Program, which John calls the JDP, which I think is very cool. And this is how it works. We handle misdemeanors, we handle some felonies. Drugs, alcohol, vandalism, theft, bullying. Although bullying is sometimes not an offense, when the need arises, we will handle bullying cases. Fake IDs, driving offenses, sometimes sex-related offenses. But that's what they come in for ostensibly. But there are underlying issues And there are underlying issues every single time of low self-esteem, of alienation, of self-destructive behavior, of kids moving into this community at a late date. And God only knows my daughter was friends in utero with her best friend, and my son since kindergarten with his best friend. And this is a community where children have known each other forever. And when someone moves into the community, the people who are friendly are the stoners, or the this ones, or the that ones. They're the ones that you don't want your kids to be around. But I think it's very easy for children who have been so comfortable with the same people forever not to realize that they're not being inclusive and welcoming, because they just don't know, and these kids are not willing to come forward and try to integrate into these groups that are closed to begin with. So there are various issues that I see over and over and over again. What I try to do, what we try to do is course correct. And we do this by laying down ground rules. We need certain things. We need absolute honesty. And we're pretty good at telling when there's not absolute honesty. We need true remorse. We need to make sure that those individual and specific conditions that we ask a child to comply with are complied with. And when we need apologies, when we need restitution, that too needs to be done. Also, there's often an element of community service. And I find community service very important because I always ask what the child's aspirations are. And very often, there are none, which is so surprising in Manhattan Beach, isn't it? I mean, wouldn't you think everyone has dreams? But that's not the case. And then I have to talk about how, well, if you're going to do this many hours of community service, it will seem like that many hours if you don't do something that you love. Find something that you love, and you're going to give me a call by the end of the week. We'll figure it out together. And that often happens. So, the first step in a transformation, in this course correction, is trying to find what will move this child in the right direction. And that's trying to help him find a dream, help her find a dream. There are a lot of kids who are grieving. There are a lot of kids who feel that they can't compete. There are a lot of kids who feel that they compete so well that they're entitled to anything. I mean, you know, it's the spectrum. And if we can find out, if we can unearth what the problem is, what the underlying issues are, then that child will be okay. Now, two cases we've had. Two cases where...
Two cases?
Well, yes. We've had two cases where the parents, instead of, the parents have encouraged the child not to be truthful. And those are two cases that haven't worked. And out of the basically 200 cases we've had, we have had fewer than 4 that haven't been successful, which I think is pretty darn good. So, I understand that we're talking about aspirations, but it also has to loom large in the child's mind that they're doing something to avoid a criminal record. And we have to, if we do our job right, we have to let them know how potentially harmful that is. That people say records can be sealed, but records are never sealed from the people who matter. And the consequences, of course, in a community like this where there are so many kids who have so much to offer, those consequences loom large, and they're a real impetus to do what we need to do to have them complete this program successfully. And at the end of this process, because it is a process, and there are relapses, there are kids who have been smoking marijuana since they were very little, and they're very scared to stop. And if they know that a relapse is expected, not expected, but is understandable, and that if you can relapse and continue, that's how we prevent recidivism. If people understand, if these kids understand that we're there for the ride, that we're in their corner, that we don't like a damn thing that they do, that we are in their corner and rooting for them, then all of a sudden, sometimes, they start rooting for themselves, and you see a transformation. And we get letters. I've started them writing letters about the process. And the letters are the most humbling thing I've ever seen, because you see kids get back to their really glorious roots. And you see kids happier. Less popular maybe, but happier, you know? Less willing to do the things that they need to do to be popular in certain groups, but they understand that they can walk taller because of that. And that's really great. That's really great. Something that is not great are the parties. We have a social host ordinance. And it's sort of interesting because instead of criminally charging parents or children, charging parents with aid and delinquency of a minor, for example, supplying alcohol, things like that, we have a basic statute that does not involve any criminality for the parent, while it insists upon accountability. So there's a fine for the parent, and there are conditions for the child. Because the things that go on at these parties are really just really terrible. The things, the things that accompany underage drinking and drugs, all the party behaviors that ensue from lack of inhibitions, all on a concrete floor in the garage. It's really, really disheartening. It's really, really shocking. And sometimes, you know, it's a mistake, but it's a mistake with consequences. Because, say, your child had a party, a little, 10 people, and then 20 people came, and then 30 people came, and there was nothing you could do about it. What the police have to do when they find out about it, because very few parents or neighbors will call because they don't want to get their neighbors in trouble, the police have to, as these children scatter to the wind at the end of the party, as these drunken, stoned little children, they have to worry about rape. They have to worry about people crossing the street. They have to worry about drunk drivers. They have to worry about vandalism. They have to, instead of protecting the rest of us, they have to go after rounding up cats, rounding up these kids and making sure that they're safe. These are all the consequences, and that's why we have this ordinance. I think it is imperative, if you know there's a party, because people are complaining to me all the time about this party, about that party, and then I ask the police and they say, well, nobody called. The consequences are not insurmountable, and the problem is, children are precious. Bad things can happen. And these bad things can happen at these parties that they have Saturday and Friday nights, every single week, And so I just ask that if you know of a party, call the police. because often the parents aren't there, and if they are there, and they haven't called the police, then they're not there. So I just want to say that of all the things I've done in my career, and I've done some very, very fun things, working with my juvenile diversion program, our juvenile diversion program is the best thing I've ever done. It's really humbling. I've really been intrigued with restorative justice and mediation since law school, and I always thought that I could do something in some far-flung land, and I get to do it.
In case you forgot, my name is John Loy. I'm a police officer with Manhattan Beach Police. I've been with the department for 25 years. The last 15 of it has been strictly juvenile investigations and sex crimes. I did 6 years as the juvenile investigations and sex crimes, and the last 7 years I've been up at the high school as the SRO. I'm going to tell you about the SRO program and going through some of the things that we do and sharing how that gets me involved with people like Dr. Allen and Ms. Jenkins, and involved in the community with the issues with alcohol and drug dependence and mental health issues. And I'll share some of the things that I see at the school and what I see with kids. The program started 15 years ago with a person at the high school, and now we also have a person at the middle school. This is a joint venture between the school district and the police department. We are not campus cops. I'm talking about our program. We're not campus cops. We don't walk around the school swinging our billy clubs, looking for someone doing a crime. Obviously, if a crime occurs on the campuses, we are responsible for doing those investigations. And I'll show you, being there, how that is important, knowing people knowing the officers and how that gets us to the JDPs and sometimes not going to jail, and how that helps being the SROs. The middle school SRO is also available to the elementary schools and to American Martyrs. We also go to any of the private schools when they ask for our assistance. One of our roles is campus safety. That's why we're there. And we're trying to identify any issues that you might have on the campus. We identify problem areas, and then we also give suggestions on how they can improve their campus safety. Not only on the campus, but around the campus. We're there to assist the administrators and the faculties with whatever needs they have. And some of those needs are just being out there on the quad on the school during their snack time, their nutrition time, during their lunch time, being visible on campus. We're there available for the counselors, and that's where I spend a lot of my time. I think a lot of my time is in counseling up at the school with parents and with kids. We're there to interact in a different perspective than meeting the cop in the street in the uniform with the students and the parents to get them to know us on a different level. It's nice, I did the juvenile investigations. It's a whole different area because you're actually arresting people. That's pretty much how it ends up. To where now I'm on the campus just interacting with the kids where it's not that type of confrontation. We participate in the social activities, the dances, prom and homecoming, and the football games, and if there's a big volleyball game against Redondo, which unfortunately we lost at home. We participate in things like that. Clubs, friendship circle, anybody that wants our assistance, we're there for them. We also get to go out and do my favorite thing, presentations. We go into the classrooms and we can teach criminal justice and criminal law, juvenile law, and it's amazing what the kids don't know and what laws they don't know that they're breaking, which is what's so great about the JDP, because it gives them the opportunity to learn without having a criminal record. And like I said before, we provide a lot of advice and counsel to parents and to kids. Some of the things that we're involved with at the school, like I said, we're not just campus cops and the cops on campus. We're involved with the school district safety and health and safety committee. It's a district-wide committee that deals with those issues. Obviously, I'm part of the safety committee that's there. We also have our own safety committee in Maricosta. I'm involved in that, and it has teachers on the committee. One of the issues with kids, believe it or not, even at Costa, is kids going to school, truancy and tardies. We have a program at the school, SART, the Student Attendance Review Team, that whenever a kid starts having issues with that, missing a certain amount of classes, obviously that affects the grades. I'm involved with that, and the committee meets with the parents and the kids and try to get them on track. If you don't do that, then you're referred to SART, which is the Student Attendance Review Board. This is made up of the district attorney, community members, police officers, attorneys, and that is a statewide sanctioned legal authority board to get kids and their parents on certain programs, similar to the juvenile diversion program, to get them to go to school. And believe it or not, it is a crime not to go to school. If they don't go, then it can go to the district attorney's office, and the parents and the kids both can receive disciplines for that. We have an impact program from Thelma McMillan. I don't know, Thelma McMillan deals with Torrance Hospital, Memorial Hospital, drug and alcohol dependency. We have a person that comes onto our campus once a week and meets with kids. Whenever I hear rumors, or if we arrested a kid, or I know the kid's possibly involved in drugs, I always provide that information to that person. They can not go to them. They don't know where the information is coming from, but they can talk to them and see if they are willing to participate in the impact. And also people we arrest or people through juvenile court can be sent through impact, also through SART. We have a new program up there which is called HEART, and that deals with bullying, and that is helping educate acts of respect together. We just started this year. One of our psychologists on campus started that, and that's to deal with the people that are bullied and the people that are bullied, to offer them assistance on correcting those situations and how to deal with them. We're also out there with the Prevention Community Council, which is a South Bay organization made up of community members that deals with drug and alcohol substance abuse, and that's run by the county. Similar to the South Bay Coalition, which deals with the same things. We go to those meetings, although I missed all of last year because I was on a sabbatical. School safety at the school, we help them participate with their lockdown drills. They do at least 3 a year. We also have our SWAT teams visit the campuses every year, because we always have different members and our schools are changing. Costa's all different now. So they tour the campuses. We also have active shooter training that we've held on our campus, both at MBMS and at Maricosta, and we've done that with Hermosa Beach, because more than likely if anything were to happen there, they would be responding also. We have the wonderful juvenile diversion program, and the one thing that touches me the most with that is that the family structure. Sometimes they come in and you can just see the tension, and there's issues within the family, and that's why they're there for us with things that the kids have done. And to see a change in the family structure afterwards, that's the most positive thing I see out of all that. And them not going and having a criminal record. We've been to all the schools in 2003 and did a threat assessment. This was done by a national organization that we invited in. We did one in 2013 at Maricosta High School. I was going to have to do a new one because it's brand new, and we did one in 2014 at MBMS. And that's us going in and offering them suggestions on how to better secure their campuses. They can't take all of our suggestions because there's monetary issues that are involved, and we have to be realistic on how much you can secure the campuses. Now we send all of our police bulletins that are relevant to campus crime and so forth. We send those to the campuses. Those go directly to them. We opened up a PD tip line. Now this goes directly to our detective bureau, so they can immediately send it to one of the SROs so we can deal with it immediately. You can call in. It can be anonymous. We prefer not to be anonymous, but it can be anonymous, and you can also go onto the city website and go on and report it anonymously. I do have some crime statistics, and these are just for Maricosta High School to show you what's going on at campus. What's that?
Scared us.
Okay. Not to scare you, but just show you what's going on. What's going on with the kids. Thefts, petty thefts, grand thefts, and burglaries. Those are the biggest ones. 2009, we'll just go with the thefts and the burglary. We're looking at 30.
What's an example of petty theft?
A petty theft is stealing a phone. Stealing a phone. Sitting on the counter, you steal a phone. Yes.
I'm sorry, 2009?
2009 through 2010, school year. This is the school year. The whole year, 2009, 2010.
These are crimes by the students or that are taken?
Most by the students. Yes,
On campus.
at Maricosta. 1401 Artesia Boulevard. Okay. Vandalism during that time, 8. Criminal threats, 3. Possession of smoking paraphernalia, 6. Did everybody
That's
know?
gone up.
Well, hold on. Does everybody know kids can't have lighters? Can't even have a lighter under 18 years old?
Or vape.
Yeah. Any cigarettes, any smoking paraphernalia. Matches, you can't have it. Assault, batteries, deadly weapons on campus, 5. Miscellaneous crimes like fraud, stolen property, and child pornography, 3. Okay. 2011, 2012 school year. Petty thefts, same thing. Petty thefts, 13. Grand thefts, 11. Burglaries, 15. Vandalism, 5. Criminal threats, 2. Possession of smoking paraphernalia, 1. Assault, batteries, deadly weapons, 5. Sex offenses and restraining order violations, 4. Now the restraining order violations, those are probably adults. 2013 through 2015, remember I wasn't there all last year. So statistics will probably go down a little since I'm not there. And the reason for that is the SROs, having someone there, the same person, year after year, we develop a relationship with the school district, with the counselors, with the administrators, with the kids, and with the parents. And we're available 24/7, even though we're only up there 4 days a week, and we're not there all the time. But they can contact us 24/7. And not every kid's different. Every kid has their own different story. And we know a lot of the kids that are getting in trouble. And we know their stories, and we can work through ways other than just an officer, patrol officer, nothing bad with patrol officers showing up, but they just see what's there at that moment, and they determine based on that. But having those relationships, we can work with people to find possibly other alternatives other than going to jail. And since I started, the arrests have gone down. And I think that's because we've developed ways, our partnership with each other, finding alternative ways to juvenile diversion program other than arresting kids. But I'm not going to say that not everybody's not arrested. Some crimes people are arrested. Some are heinous crimes. And believe it or not, sometimes there's repeat offenders that are kind of career juvenile criminals. We do have some of those. So 2013-15, so we only had 11 petty thefts, 7 grand thefts, 7 burglaries, 8 vandalisms, 2 criminal threats, 4 possession of smoking paraphernalia, 7 assault, battery, and deadly weapons, and 5, which could have been stolen cars, threatening phone calls. That was a famous one this last school year, which I wasn't here. Closed our school for a couple days. Possession of stolen property, sex offenses, and distribution of child pornography. Other than the crimes that I'm seeing at the school, as far as, you know how he was saying they're afraid to talk to parents? You'd be amazed how they're not afraid to talk to the officer about everything they're doing, and their parents are shocked when I tell them what their kids told me that they're doing. And I'm a complete stranger to a lot of them. So they do tell other people a lot of things that are going on. The drinking. The first 10 years I was here, you'd see a lot of parties every weekend. It's a common occurrence, major parties, and they had names for them and so forth like that. Because of our roles at the school and because of the social host ordinance, I do think it has decreased some because the kids know that the cops will come and people will get cited for that. Arrests were made from parents that hosted parties, They provided the alcohol. People have been arrested for that. So now, generally, you'll see kids have smaller parties unannounced until the time that it's going to happen. We'll have, I'd say, a handful of major parties during the year, but it has decreased over the years. So now there's smaller gatherings, which may be why some people don't call it, because it's a smaller gathering. I saw a recent study that binge drinking is on the rise. And I can understand why, because on the weekends they all go out and drink. The surveys that are done by our PACE program at the school, when the kids come in and do the survey, it's not scientific, but they show a tremendous 80 to 90% rate that people have tried alcohol. They show an increase in the 40s to 50s of people that are smoking marijuana, and an increase in the pills. The pills that I see predominantly at the school, people selling and using, are Adderall and Xanax. I see with our crimes, the girls mixing, they drink the hard liquor, not beer. They mix the hard liquor with those pills. Unfortunately, at parties and so forth, like Joan brought up, that what leads to most of our juvenile sexual assaults because of the females under the influence. And that's what most of our investigations revolve around. One thing I do see is that our athletes, our smartest people in the school, our best students, our people involved in clubs, our theater people, our choir, our Model UN, they party too. They party too. And some of them have had some of those handful of major ragers.
Who doesn't? Who doesn't? Everyone.
Who doesn't?
Yeah.
You know, when you're talking about 90% of the kids saying they've tried alcohol, 10% don't. So, yes, absolutely.
What are your statistics on that? I mean, I want to say to my kids, not everybody's really doing this, even if it might look like that. But I'm saying that.
No, I totally agree. The kids that say that everybody's doing it are the kids that are doing it with all the kids that are doing it. So yes, I agree with that. I think you gave the statistics on.
Yeah, 25% of kids across the country actually don't drink or use drugs in high school, believe it or not.
25%.
So not everybody's.
The pills can be brought from dealers, they can get from parents, some are prescribed.
Medicine counts.
Yeah, medicine cabinets.
We'll let you finish.
We'll do questions. The mental health issue. I know that's what our counselors see a lot at the school, and I see a lot dealing with that also from the stress. The suicidal tendencies we was talking about it. I've seen that a lot with kids writing about it in their English classes, like on actual assignments. Just openly talking about it to friends. That is on the rise. We definitely see that, and I spend a lot of time with our counselors talking to parents and kids with that. And having our pet team come out, we're taking people 5150. So that I definitely think is on the rise. So with that said, I know you guys got tons of questions for all of us. So we'll.
Okay, great. Thanks, John.
Yep.